2-week lockdown for Eastern Highlands. Citizens urged to plant more trees. And Fury wins insane fight.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Seah.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Sunday's news. An unprecedented surge of COVID-19 cases and deaths in Eastern Highlands province have forced the Provincial COVID-19 Committee to impose a 2-week lockdown. It is not a complete lockdown, with limited movement allowed and essential services to remain open. The lockdown includes passengers travelling in or through from Leh and the other Highlands provinces.
The Eastern Highlands Provincial COVID-19 Committee, in an emergency meeting held on Friday, agreed for a 2-week lockdown.
Effective on Monday, but by Wednesday, there will be a total lockdown of intra-provincial movement. In other words, the 8 districts will be kept at bay. There will be roadblocks set up by police, so for the next 2 weeks, districts movement in and out of the districts will not happen. Only very essential services, and that will come with an exemption. With a exemption pass. In other words, essential services meaning medical movements. People bring people in and out to the hospitals or emergencies.
The message put forward by the provincial controller. It's not out of the blue. It's all based on sound medical advices from our provincial health authority, CEO.
And we have about, as from last week, 4 days ago, about 36 deaths, which is recorded. And since then, we have so many deaths coming in, but it's not. The certificates are not filled in, and it'll be, as soon as it's filled in, it's sent to the NCC, then we will be able to release the exact statistics.
The lockdown is not a complete lockdown. Students in grade 8, 10 and 12 who will be sitting for their exams are allowed to school, including their teachers.
If a grade exam is going to be first, then only grade 8s come to school. All the others stay at home. Okay. And then the next one, grade 10s, that also relieves the pressure on the school space, the classroom space, so that there's also social distancing. Unfortunately, we cannot impose a curfew or a lockdown on them because they have exams coming up, the national exams coming up this month and next month. So we have directed a strict adherence to the new normal, so that they can do their exams.
But movement into the town from districts is prohibited. Only people that will be allowed to travel in are those getting supplies for their shops, but only if they observe the COVID-19 protocols.
For those who have shops out in the districts, those people, the shop owners will apply to the police, case by case. The police, PPC will, on its own merit, give exemption for them to come into town, pick up goods, take only them, take it to the village, and then they can sell in the village and they can depend on them. But the general public moving in and out, by Monday, they will be discouraged. So by Wednesday, it's total lockdown.
The Highlands Highway will also be closely monitored, with a swab team stationed at each of the border.
They are no different from the others. They will be tested at the 2 checkpoints. One on the eastern end, which will be down at Kasam, Yonki, that will be there. And one on the other western end, which will be at Chimbu, Eastern Highlands border in Suabe, Mangiro. And big trucks, those are carrying essential goods back and forth. The drivers will also be checked. If they check to, and they show signs that positive, then they won't be allowed to pass through the borders. Public transport, by Wednesday, no public transport traveling back and forth from the Upper Highlands down to Morobe and the coast, or vice versa, from down there coming up.
The lockdown is necessary as the number of COVID-19 cases and deaths continue to rise in the province.
Sikia, dogo, one bla pisin by Karam Round, Nagimol man, or animal by Karam Round, Nagimol man. If you man yet by me Karam Round, or by me spreading this sick. So, me appeal all people, Blomilo, go back, stop back, house, blah, stop back, districts, blah.
Appeal is to the 8 district development authorities. Cases in the respective provinces, respective districts have really picked up. Please do the right thing. A dead voter is of no use. Bring in the support so that we all stay together, and let's get this thing under control. If we cannot eradicate it, at least get it under control.
Shamin Poreambeb, National EMTV News.
The ambassador of Japan to Papua New Guinea, Kuniyuki Nakahara, was recently in East New Britain for the opening ceremony of new classrooms funded by the Japanese government. He was joined by local political leaders to officiate the learning facilities. A grant worth up to 271,000 kina was used to build the double classroom. The new classroom facility hopes to address the serious shortage of classrooms. Through these projects, the government of Japan is pleased to support the PNG government's efforts to improve the education sector. Ambassador Nakahara also officiated the water supply system in Raniolo settlement, built at the cost of 52,000 kina. Environment Minister Weramori is urging citizens to plant more trees in their communities. He says with climate change effects felt across the globe, planting trees is one effort to generate balance in the atmosphere. The minister says under his department's plan, a major project is to plant 1 million trees.
Despite boasting to host one of the world's virgin forests, there is need to plant more trees. The Environment Minister says Papua New Guinea cannot sit back and relax. Mori says the 1 million tree project must be responsible for all citizens.
1 million trees over the next 10 years. Now, why 10 million trees? You must know that trees sink in carbon dioxide. They take in carbon dioxide through the process of photosynthesis, and they store it. We have got to increase that, because that's by doing that, we now are playing our part as a global member of the global community by helping increasing the capacity of the Earth's lungs.
While industrial and most developed nations are urged to cut emissions, nothing serious has been achieved. The Environment Minister says this is a challenge for small island nations like us. The minister responsible for climate change says planting trees is a counter-effort to address global warming and other environment effects.
Because don't forget, we have gone past the point of no return. We cannot only expect the developed world to basically reduce, cut down the emission. While they are cutting down the emission, we must also increase our capacity, our Earth's capacity, or increase the capacity of the Earth's lung to take in carbon dioxide. So it's a responsibility that cannot only be left alone to the developed world, but we also, in the developing nations, must also do our part.
While most of the focus is on forest, the minister says the ocean also anchors a huge mass of carbon. He says the ocean must be protected, including the marine life. Minister Mori encouraged communities along shorelines to plant more mangroves and stop the dumping of rubbish into the ocean.
While on the coastline, which is where the mangroves is part of the blue economy, which also supports our marine ecosystem, they hold up to 10 times more carbon dioxide than terrestrial plants. We need to protect our blue ocean, and especially Papua New Guinea has quite a big, vast areas of oceans.
Jack Lopava Jr., National MTV News.
Prime Minister James Marape visited the remote Menyamia district recently. He promised the continued road funding to complete the Menyamia Road. The Prime Minister was accompanied by Morobe Governor Genson Saunu and Education Minister Jimmy Uguro.
The Prime Minister flew by air into the remote Morobe district. He was met by the local MP Benjamin Philip and local leaders. Hundreds waited patiently to see the leader of the Pangu-led government. Among his talking points, the Prime Minister promised to maintain allocation of road funding to help build the Menyamia Road, a project that hopes to help grow this rural Morobe district.
Now, legally, people like him 10 million a year, 5 million a year, long at least, bulldozer must start him work past them, cleaning work past them. Now, you play along this road, main road, come here, try to legally money, that's what me like talk. 10 million kina, we will put him on this year budget, and we start along this road, but come inside along Menyamia district long.
Speaking as the Pangu leader, the Prime Minister said though funding is scarce, levels of government must work together to deliver services to the people. He says priorities of government remain in health and education.
Menyamia secondary, strong him. Now build him into Menyamia secondary, one flexible, open, distance education facility wanted. Or beginning, we finish school, now stop nothing, can go back and upgrade him. Grade 9, grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, or can finish him up to grade 12. ICK High School too, Governor, me recommend him, Provincial Education Board, let approve him. Instead of grade 10, that's all, you approve him, go in and finish him grade 12. I may help now build him, so I took in secondary school. Am I right or no?
PM Marape says the Menyamia Road project is a key infrastructure for people to use. He said this will also stimulate the local economy. But for now, the Prime Minister encouraged the locals to venture into agriculture and business. He said these are focus areas the ruling government is investing into.
And time government realized that price for coffee, price for cacao, price for copra, and low right across the country. Now you let's go back to coffee. Maybe I put him two program to help him people finish. One block buy him good or right price. Not blah. You don't have to sell him to lay anymore. You sell him, you chances you bung him. You can sell him yet here, long Menyamia district. Now from here, government yet can kiss him go. Now I'm sell him go outside, him can sell him go. Am I right or no?
Jack Lopava Jr., National MTV News.
Churches have been encouraged to continue the work of coffee production in rural Morobe and Eastern Highlands provinces. Prime Minister James Marape, in a visit to Menyamia, set aside 1.5 million kina for coffee development in rural areas. From the 1.5 million kina, the Prime Minister said 500,000 kina will go towards coffee price support, while the 1 million kina will be for a coffee depot. Currently, 1 kilogram of coffee beans is bought at 1 kina 50 toya, but with the injection of the 500,000 kina, Prime Minister Marape said each kilogram should be sold at 6 kina. Meanwhile, the Marape-led government has put in place a price support program for agricultural products, including vanilla. National MTV News continues with a closer look after these messages. Stay with us. Welcome back to the news. As of the 5th of October, the country has recorded a total of 237 deaths from the current surge of COVID-19 in the country. Deaths from a total of 21,640 confirmed cases. NCDC, Western Highlands, East New Britain, Eastern Highlands and Simbu Province are the top provinces with new cases recorded. By region, the Highlands Province is leading, with provinces like Eastern Highlands recording over 400 confirmed COVID-19 cases in just a month. Our reporter Charmaine Poriambep was recently in Goroka and shares the current situation.
We were walking towards the isolation wards when a nurse stormed out of one of the 4 isolation wards. She immediately stopped in front of the CEO and the Deputy Director Curative Health Services, Mr. Tony Basse. Dressed in her full COVID-19 PPE, she asked them for an oxygen concentrator. A small chat and she hastily walked off. She rushed back a few minutes later.
Someone then bring it down quickly. You were not bringing the concentrator?
It was clear, evident on her face, her patient wasn't the only one in distress. It has become a burden to many staff, knowing they can help the patients but lack the apparatus.
All of them are on oxygen supplies, but we need to get them all on according to their requirements for each patient. So at the moment we're sharing things at the moment, doing double Y connections, meaning on one cylinder we try to get two people hooked up on that with the tubings, just ensuring that at least we have oxygen for these patients. But we're hoping that with increased numbers of accessories, then we can get one patient on an oxygen tank by itself.
That's the apparatus that we require to attach to the oxygen cylinder. You can have the cylinder, but if we don't have this, then the cylinder is useless.
Sister Lynette Baba is the sister in charge of the COVID-19 wards. She has worked non-stop since the surge.
We have a team of nursing officer and medical officer with the HCOs from Mosby in here. We are grateful. But if we could have more of registrars on the ground, would be very helpful to Dr. Bigam at the moment.
In another isolation room, we are told 4 children below the age of 5 are admitted. We were not allowed into any of the isolation ward nor the emergency ward. Dr. Upper said the patients are in so much distress. A group of journalists trying to take pictures simply wasn't a good idea. But they allowed us to observe. A peek into one of the isolation rooms saw men and women on oxygen struggling to breathe, trying to find a comfortable position to allow air to flow easily through their respiratory system. Relatives gather around, taking turns to aid the ailing loved one. With the hospital struggling with manpower, staff rely heavily on relatives to assist with palliative care. From statistics provided, majority of the patients are between 30 to 50 years old.
At the moment, in this facility, it's a 40-bed facility. We have, on any day, we would have a bit more than 40. Some sitting, some waiting. We do make makeshift beds just to accommodate them and get them on some form of oxygen to at least buy time for them and hope that they recover.
According to the CEO, in just the month of September, over 400 COVID-19 patients have been received at the hospital, with 26 deaths as of the 5th of October. But that figure is only for the ones in the hospital. The morgue is receiving bodies from all over the province. Those who have died of COVID-19 are put in body bags and placed in 2 chillers outside the morgue. Relatives are not allowed near the morgue nor touch the dead bodies. They only leave the casket and watch from afar as their loved one is placed in the coffin. That responsibility has been given to the undertakers, young men engaged by the hospital to help the morgueman David Awo. Awo, who has worked at the morgue for over 20 years, says he hasn't seen something like this before.
Disaster or kind something them plan the bodies come big. But now I'm until 1.5 months or the
Eastern Highlands province is experiencing an unprecedented number of COVID-19 cases and deaths, with community transmissions largely to be blamed. With COVID-19 funds exhausted, the hospital is struggling.
A number of our partners have given us a lot of help assistance, so we have been using that. With all the things that we procured and done and all that, it is all finished, and then we are now going to using the hospital or the PHA budget to
take care of both facilities.
Otherwise, our resources are still depleted every time, and we are overstretched to pull in the current. We still need support from outside. Yeah, our PPEs are running out every day, and so our priority now is to protect our workforce. So we have to have constant supplies of PPE at the center every day.
Port Moresby General Hospital is also experiencing the same crisis.
Initially from 27 September to 28, 29, the positivity rate was 31%. It's only increased to 40% and 50%, meaning that 5 cases of 5 out of every 10 cases presenting with flu-like cough, fever are tested positive for COVID.
The National Ambulance Service of PNG St. John Ambulance reports that in the last 48 hours, it responded to 133 emergencies, 48 of which were for COVID. St. John is also managing the Port Moresby Isolation Ward at Taurama Aquatic Centre.
7 in every 10 patients that's going to POMGen has been positive. So it's an alarming rise. And I'm not sure if we are going to cater for that here with the rate at the rate that we are going. So yeah, it's pretty scary. Currently, we've got 150 beds.
Similar stories out from hospitals throughout the country as the number of cases continue to rise.
So far, we have total cases of more than 600 confirmed by way of RDT testing or gene expert. 39 members of our health workforce, inclusive of support services, have been infected.
From the recent statistics released by the National Control Center for COVID-19, as of the 5th of October, a total of 21,640 confirmed cases were reported, with 237 deaths throughout the country. Provinces with cases over 1,000 are NCD, Western Highlands, Western Province, Morobe, East New Britain and Eastern Highlands Province. Provinces recording the highest number of Delta variant are West Sepik, NCD, Western Central, Morobe and Medang. Provinces with the most deaths since the third wave are NCD, Eastern Highlands, Western Province and Jiwaka. Total recovered cases are 18,838. These figures are 5 days old, and unofficial reports from hospitals say the death toll has increased, including the number of new cases. While Eastern Highlands Provincial COVID-19 Committee has imposed a 2-week lockdown to control the transmission, many provinces encouraging new normal protocols and advising the people to get the vaccines. New COVID-19 measures from the National Controller bans gathering of more than 20 people. The recent surge of cases has seen a number of people turning up to get the vaccines. Vaccination coverage so far has seen NCD reaching 50%, while the rest of the country is below target.
Protect me against COVID local. Because sick come strong. So you may all get a kiss him. But I'm a choice for one man, you make him this blood. Me it been.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
A look at the weather forecast in the southern region. Some rain and thunderstorms in Port Moresby, some thundery showers, then cloudy weather in Daru, and some showers and thunderstorms in Kerema, Alatau and Popondetta.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoneyPlus, with you always.
And that's been the news, sport and weather for Sunday, 10th of October 2021. Until next time, pleasant viewing, be safe and good night.